Call to order this regular meeting of the Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Commission of May 29th, 2019. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, is available at the front of the chambers with the clerk. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the doors at the back of the room. If you parked in the parking garage across the street to the north, please be sure to pick up a parking coupon on your way out for free parking. Out of courtesy for those attending this meeting, the commissioners and the staff, cellular phone usage is not permitted in these chambers. During any portion of this meeting, we will appreciate your cooperation. We have a staff announcement from Steve Henriksen.
Thank you. Steve Hendrickson with the Planning Department. Just very pleased to introduce Rhonda Haas, who is joining us today. This is her fourth full day and her first Planning Commission, so we thought we'd throw her into the fire right away. But we don't have to really worry about that because she joins us from the City Clerk's office, where she's done these kind of meetings for the City Council before. So I was just learning all of the various aspects here, and so we look forward to her working with us and working with you and the public as well.
Very good, thank you. Welcome, Rhonda.
Welcome, Rhonda.
Please note that the Planning Commission action today is final on the following agenda items. Item 1.1C, which is Special Permit 19024. Item 1.3, Special Permit Use Permit 19C. Item 1.4, Special Permit 19026. And item 1.5A, Special Permit 1960B. Any aggrieved person may appeal final action of the Planning Commission to the City Council or the County Board by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk within 14 days following the action of the Planning Commission. Planning Commission action on all other items is a recommendation to either the City Council or the County Board. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held May 15th, 2019. Is there a motion?
Move to approve, Campbell.
Second, Beckius.
Please call the roll.
Okay. Approval of the minutes for May 15th. Beckius?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will ask Jerry to read all of the consent agenda items into the record, and once those items are read, she will ask if there's anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we would ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Jerry, will you please call the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, before I do that, I would like to just announce that Commissioner Shear has declared a conflict of interest on items 1.5A and 1.5B, and therefore will recuse himself from voting on the consent agenda. Item 1.1A is annexation 19006 to annex approximately 9.30 acres more or less and the associated change of zone 19015 from AG Agricultural District to R3 Residential District, as well as the associated special permit 19024 to allow for the development of a community unit plan consisting of 16 single-family lots, 1 lot for a future clubhouse, and 6 outlots, all generally located at South 33rd and Rokeby Road. Item 1.2 is change of zone 19013 from public use district to R4 residential district on property generally located at 3600 R Street. 1.3 is special permit use permit 19C to allow for the enclosure of an existing walkway for storage and the addition of an emergency generator and trash compactor, along with a revision to plan notes allowing minor increases up to 3,000 square feet by administrative amendment on property generally located at 1710 South 70th Street. Item 1.4 is special permit 19026 to allow outdoor seasonal sales on property generally located at 5555 Ruth Street. And item 1.5A is special permit 1960B to amend the plan to show the proposed vacation of the western portion of Hilltop Road and the construction of a new public cul-de-sac near North 14th Street, with waivers for the subdivision improvement requirements in Chapter 2.15 of the Lincoln Design Standards for Urban Public Streets, and the associated street and alley vacation 19005 to vacate a portion of Hilltop Road west of North 14th Street located, or generally located at North 14th and Superior Streets. I would note that this is final action on items, special permit 19024 and special permit, use permit 19C, special permit 1960B. And final action unless appealed to the city council within 14 days. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed?
I don't see any.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak on any of these consent agenda items? If so, please stand and state those items or that item.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I'd move approval.
Second, Beckius.
Jerry?
Okay, and this is for approval of the consent agenda. Beckius?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Hoare?
Yes.
Motion carried, 6-0.
I will now ask Jerry to call the request for deferral.
Okay, we have received a written request on behalf of the applicant for an additional 4-week delay on preliminary plat 18002, which is to add 430 residential lots on approximately 152.1 acres, more or less, on property generally located at the southwest corner of West Old Cheney Road and South Folsom Street. This would defer this application to the June 26th hearing for continued public hearing and action.
Move to defer.
Second, Joy.
Jerry?
Okay. Beckius?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Is there anyone wishing to testify on preliminary plat 18002 today rather than waiting until the June 26th hearing?
Okay, we will now proceed to public hearings. The staff will make a brief presentation. The applicant will then be requested to present his or her testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity to respond to the testimony, and then the applicant shall have an opportunity for rebuttal. If during your testimony you have copies of documents or materials you would like distributed to the Planning Commission members and/or included as part of the record, please provide that information to the clerk for distribution. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The timer will go off after 4 minutes, then you will have 1 minute to wrap up your testimony. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the commission votes to defer action or continue the public hearing. Jerry, please call the first public hearing item.
Okay, we have two associated items. Item 4.1A is change of zone 19016 from R2 residential district to an R2 residential district with landmark overlay, historic preservation district, and the associated special permit 19027 to allow for the construction of a detached garage with waivers regarding height, lot, and area, and other zoning restrictions on a newly designated historic landmark, both generally located at 3422 Grimsley Lane. Staff recommendation for the change of zone is approval. Staff recommendation for the special permit is conditional approval. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed?
I have one. This project was posted on my neighborhood association Facebook page, so I learned about it, but did not participate in any postings.
Thank
Very
you.
Ed.
Ed Zimmer, Planning Department. I'd like to present both these items to you, beginning with the landmark designation and then proceeding to the special permit. They are closely connected, but the special they're not eligible for this special permit unless there is a landmark designation. Both of these have been presented to the Preservation Commission and recommended to you unanimously for your approval, and an excerpt of their minutes are included. We're located in the Woodshire neighborhood, which I think of as the Woodshire National Register Historic District. But National Register by itself does not confer the status that one can apply for a special permit under 2763-400. You must be an individual landmark for that status. We recommend the designation on the basis that we have a fine example of Tudor Revival style, built in 1930, kind of ... because it took quite a while to get this finished, maybe 32, 34. I don't think of it really as finished until the family occupying it bought it in 1934. I think it qualifies on its architectural merit alone, but I think there's also another interesting story with it. It was designed by a young architect, William Morton, who was just moving into independent practice, having been draftsman in some of the residential architecture firms prior to that point. He was working for a developer named Todd Moran, who had applied for a dozen permits on the day he took out the permit I included in the nomination, and it didn't go so well. It was several houses, the associated garages, I think 8 houses and 4 garages. Those that got started under construction all went into a whole page in the Register of Deeds records of mechanic liens. It's hard to tell whether that was the intention of the developer. He bonded his contractor from the start and then sued the bonding company for repayment, but apparently hadn't been paying any of his bills along the way, so he had kind of determined the result. What that gives us is not significance in its own because of these troubles, but it does give us an unusually broad portrait of everybody involved in the construction of these buildings. This building had 30 mechanic liens on it, and we know the names, details of the building, and costs all through that, which is an unusually rich source. Usually I have that building permit, and I feel pretty good with that. But here we have a really broad picture, and like that has a value as we try to understand what construction, residential construction, was like in Lincoln at the offset of the Depression. That's just an added aspect to this, but I think it well qualifies under our standards for landmark designation. We recommend it on that basis. The owner's purpose, the Moore family, in applying for this is to construct the garage they want in their backyard, which seems like a fairly ordinary purpose. But there are a couple aspects, not in the placement really. I think as we look broadly at that site plan, putting a garage at the end of the driveway at the back corner of the lot seems quite ordinary. As built, the house has a garage that is rear facing, and so it's just an integral part of that original construction. But as we look at the area covered by accessory structures on this backyard and count both levels that they would like to build in their new garage, they exceed the allowable coverage, even though that garage sits right at the end of the driveway, right where you expect it to be. They would also like it to fit the style of the house. And working with Peace Studio, who happen to be neighbors down the street, I think they've come up with an exceptionally well-conceived garage to match a 1930 Tudor-style house, but that is taller than the limit you would ordinarily allow in the backyard. They could put a garage covering more of their usable backyard area of lower profile and fit all the zoning characteristics. And from an historic preservation point of view, I'd rather they didn't. I'd rather they built this. And that is exactly the request they're making. They'd like two floors for car storage, car below, and workshop above. In the workshop above, they'd like to have a bathroom. Doesn't seem an extraordinary request, but they'd like, because of where they'd like to place it, and they'd like to condition that space, heat it and cool it. We don't ordinarily allow conditioned space in the rear yard. All of those are what bring them to you asking under 2763-400 to let them build this garage in their backyard for their use. We've included in the conditions those aspects, and then a little broader language to say, if Ed missed something in this design, which is the one we want to see built and is the purpose of this application, in its process of being approved and constructed, the planning director would have the authority to look at whatever that missing waiver was and say, yes, that fits what your intention was if you approve this and if city council approves the landmark, or no, that's beyond what was asked for. So we've asked for that additional authority because we want to see this one built if this process moves forward. And I think that's most of the story. The owners are here if you have questions of them, but we're mostly trying to give our very skilled new hire a few things to write about. And so I was asked to come and present to you.
Questions for Ed? Tracy?
I do have one. Ed, I know that we've recently talked about accessory dwelling
Sure.
units. So further down the road, many years after maybe they're not the owners of this anymore, and someone comes along and buys this property and wants to turn that garage into maybe an apartment or something up above, would they have to come back
Yes.
through
The-
and get a building permit or?
Let me address it from our current code,
Sure.
because neither of us know what a future code might read like. And I think that is related to the language about conditioned space in a rear yard. They don't request that. If they were requesting that, and we have approved a unit like that in Piedmont a few years back for the Ogdens, who built a 3-stall garage with essentially a guest house above, frankly, and asked for that, designed it beautifully, and were approved for that. They're not asking for that. They would not be permitted that. If they wanted to come back and amend their permit, they would have to come back through the process. That would not be an administrative type change. It's a different use than they've asked for. They're not setting it up as an apartment. It simply has a bathroom in it. So it would take, and they also don't fit, in the R2 district, they don't fit the current allowance of a accessory dwelling. They'd have to be a much, much bigger lot. They're not asking for that. They wouldn't be allowed that. And to be allowed that, they'd have to come back.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thanks, Ed.
Thank you very much.
Do we have testimony from the applicant?
Hello, my name is Chad Moore, and my wife Cindy is here today. We purchased the house in 2003. We love the neighborhood. We did a small addition prior to it being considered for a landmark, and we did everything that we could to make it look like it was always there. And our intention is just to have a really nice garage that fits well with the house and the neighborhood, and that we hope that you approve.
Questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
Do we have testimony in support for these items? We'll take both of these items in terms of discussion together, but we'll have to make separate motions. Do we have any testimony in support? Testimony in opposition of either of these items? Do you have staff questions? Okay. We'll skip applicant rebuttal since there was no other comments, and we'll entertain a motion. Let's go one at a time.
I'll move approval for the change of zone.
Second.
Discussion, let's have discussion for both items, and we'll vote separately on each.
It appears like the applicant has done a nice job of trying to implement the proposed structure with the existing neighborhood. I think it seems to fit nicely, and I appreciate the line of distinction when it comes to the use of this particular conditioned living space versus what we might traditionally consider an accessory dwelling unit.
Others?
I just want to thank the applicant for going above and beyond and making it blend in with the neighborhood instead of just kind of doing the bare bones minimum and putting up, like Ed said, they could put something in there right now, but it wouldn't match with the character. So I appreciate that.
It's a beautiful structure, beautifully designed, and as Ed said, I agree, this is the building we would want to see there, so I'm going to support the motion. Any other questions or comments? I think we're ready to vote.
Okay, this is for the approval of changes zone 19016. Beckius?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
At this time, anyone wishing to speak?
vote on the
Oh, we have the second motion, I'm sorry. Pointed that out and then forgot. Okay, so we need a motion for the second item as well, the special permit.
Move approval.
Second core.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote.
Okay, this is for conditional approval of special permit 19027. Beckius?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
And now, at this time, anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so. We are adjourned.
Okay, very good.